Welcome back, everyone, to the Agile Leadership Track at Spring One. I am very excited about these next two presenters. You may be seeing double. You're actually going to see these two folks on our main stage tomorrow morning, but today I'm excited for their deep dive of Voya digital transformation. We planned a trip to Venice and ended up in Amsterdam instead. And please welcome Ruchi Gupta, Solutions Architect for Voya Financial, and Mike Stevens, Lead Digital Architect from Voya Financial. Take it away.
Great, thanks, Estelle. I am Mike Stevens. I lead the digital architecture function at Voya Financial. And I'm joined today by Ruchi Gupta. Ruchi is our solution architect who was the key resource on our digital transformation program. Real quickly, our company, Voya Financial, is a leading provider of health, wealth, and investment solutions for the U.S. In the U.S., we have more than 51,000 institutional clients and 6 million individual plan participants. So we have quite a large customer base that we do serve. And our digital modernization journey really started back in 2018. And like many companies, Voya has had a history of mergers and acquisitions. And with that came a lot of technology that led to some redundant and outdated technologies. And we found that in 2018, we really needed to keep pace with our customer demand for better customer experiences. And it was becoming more and more difficult for us to satisfy this demand with our legacy portfolio. And this created, a problem, which is why we embarked on this simplification and modernization journey in 2018. And just to talk a little bit about our metaphor, the title of our talk, we titled it, we planned a trip to Venice and ended up in Amsterdam. And the idea behind this metaphor is that, we began our digital journey. When we began our digital journey, we have about 24 digital applications, and we planned on replatforming most of them. But we also planned on rewriting one of our key participant application. And we planned on decomposing that application into microservices. We expected those microservices to be decomposed based on different domains. We had done what Ruchi will talk about, which is a Boris analysis to do that decomposition. We planned on creating independent data sources by microservice. And we planned on creating new APIs. And we plan on creating a beautiful, pristine architecture and really getting rid of a lot of our legacy. We plan on visiting the beautiful canals of Venice, but as many times happens in IT, the refactoring of our applications into that perfect architecture turned out to become extremely complex. We had to understand the business rules that we needed to reverse engineer and 20 years of enhancements that have been done to that application. And it became a little more, we bit off a little more than we can chew. So instead of rewriting that application, we ended up replatforming it to VMware TAS. And I'm going to go through a little bit in terms of the benefits that we still achieved by doing that. So essentially, instead of visiting the beautiful canals of Venice, our journey led us to Amsterdam. And while Amsterdam is not exactly what we expected, the canals there are beautiful just the same. So we'll turn to the first slide and talk a little bit about our previous slide. Ruchi, thank you. So, when we did our digital transformation, it wasn't just about technology. It wasn't just about replatforming things to TAS. It was really a holistic approach. The first thing that we focused on was developer productivity, putting in a better, more well-engineered DevSecOps pipeline. We put into that pipeline code and functionality, quality checks. We made our environments easier to create and manage. And as with most IT shops, developers have a lot of slack time in their calendar. There are points in which they need to submit a ticket for an environment. There's a point in which they need to submit a ticket for a firewall rule change, a point in which they need to submit a ticket for a cert to be deployed. And all of that really impacts developer productivity. So by moving to the platform, we're able to really remove a lot of that slack time and get a tremendous amount of developer productivity that we didn't have prior to moving to the platform. And then the second area that we looked at was to improve our agile development processes. We really focused on an excellent partnership between business and IT. We have an excellent collaboration prioritization of backlogs. We have planning sessions quarterly that we go through with the entire team to really talk about priorities and the overall schedule. We have much faster releases. We have what we call a fast lane now, which is where we can release monthly rather than quarterly. We also have persistent development teams. Rather than bring the team to the work, we bring the work to the team, right? So we have persistent teams that end up having a lot of time to work together to build relationships and to also build knowledge of a particular application so that we can really get better productivity and satisfaction from the team. And we did all this through training and development of both our IT group and of our business folks as well. The third thing we focused on was a more modern architecture. With the TAS VMware TAS platform, where we are architected to scale to meet demand. We can have a single application server technology, which really greatly simplified our environment. Credential security got a lot better. We have automated credential management. We also, in addition to TAS, put an Apogee for API management, which was really a fantastic add, since the security of our APIs and development of our APIs and management of our APIs sort of automatically happens with the platform and is really second nature to the way that we develop now. It's fantastic. And we also put in circuit breakers to reduce user impact for any kind of failures. And our quality of our applications has greatly improved. And then lastly, we really focused on a simplified architecture and simplified infrastructure. We reduced the number of technologies. With the platform, we can do security patches in place without any user impact. We have automatic scaling for peak loads. Rather than having to vertically scale, now we can horizontally scale, which has really been a tremendous benefit to the organization. Fast provisioning of infrastructure, reduced ticketing, and overall lower operational costs. And in addition to that, we put in tools like Dynatrace to look at real-time activity on the platform to kind of get ahead of any problems that would occur, so that we could do troubleshooting in production. But also it gives us tools and visibility into the applications during development, so we can see how the thing is working before we deploy it into production. So those are the areas that we focused on. And then the next slide, quickly, I'll talk about some of the IT capabilities that we have been improving over the past 3 years. When we started back in 2017, we had a monolithic application in trimester release cycles. When we had an idea that was, we needed to implement, it would take us at least 3 months to get into production. So that was challenging. We needed to get to faster releases, and with the platform, with the work that we did to transform our organization, now we're on monthly release cycles. We also have refactored our dependencies to get there, so that we can release components and microservices on a more frequent basis, rather than just release the entire monolith at the same time. Developer sandboxes have been a tremendous productivity improvement, and we're working towards it, but we want to get to on-demand releases. We want to get to a full microservices-based architecture. That's the ultimate goal. In terms of infrastructure simplification, we had a lot of currency issues in 2017. We went through a separate activity to do a data center migration and did a ton of platform upgrades in terms of currency. And then as far as our digital transformation, we consolidated all our infrastructure, all our applications onto the private cloud. We have now a consistent platform for development across all our digital apps, which is a fantastic benefit, and it reduces the overall support needs. What we want to do going forward is we have a strategy to look at public cloud. In the long term, we expect to have a hybrid private and public cloud environment where we can decide where to deploy our applications, kind of depending on the characteristics of the app, rather than just assume it's all on premise. And then we really focused on having highly scalable applications. As you can imagine, with those millions of participants, and if there's market issues, stock market issues, we can have a tremendous surge in users coming in to check their balances. And scalability is extremely important for us. In the past, we had only the ability to scale vertically, add bigger and bigger servers. But now we can have the ability to scale horizontally. So We took a huge in-memory cache, broke it up, used PCC to be able to cache that on a server rather than in memory. We now have full provisioning of application infrastructure, and we can really, we have the ability to scale horizontally on premise. And it's really wonderful the way that works. You know, in the future, we want to have developer self-service of application instances, and then with public cloud to be able to scale, you know, hyperscale our applications if we do get those spikes in demand. Another big thing we focused on was security. In 2017, we had some currency issues. Credentials were not secure. You know, data in motion wasn't encrypted. But since then, with Apigee as the API management platform, with a lot of the application refactoring that we've done, we have centralized credentials management. We have security code scanning. We've implemented end-to-end internal encryption. We're meeting pretty much all of the API policy standards that we have inside of Voya, and we're moving towards, you know, Web Seal for session management across all our applications. So not only simplified, but also move the standards and make our applications much more secure. And then lastly, we focused on application availability. Initially, you know, in 2017, struggled with having a high availability environment. But now, you know, we've refactored our application for fault tolerance. As I mentioned before, we've decomposed our application into multiple microservices and multiple components so that if one fails, there's some circuit breakers that will kick in to stop the whole application from failing. And now with the platform and auto restart, we've got the ability to, if there is a failure, have our instances automatically restart. And while sometimes the application might hobble along because of an issue, we don't see those complete failures as much as we did in the past. At our application availability in the last, I'd say, you know, months and up to a year now has been really rock solid. And then in the future, we want to move towards a full microservices decoupled environment, and with that, you know, have the ability to really stop any sort of cascading failure. And so with that, you know, I'll just leave my part of the talk here with the idea that, you know, the message that I wanted to impart to you guys is that, you know, you don't have to be perfect. It's okay to be a better IT shop today than you were yesterday, to quote Jordan Peterson, and don't let the perfect be the enemy of good. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Ruchi, who will get into some of the details of our transformation journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And I'm so excited to walk you through our digital transformation journey, which is filled with wonderful experience, learnings, and success. We had a very clear mission. We wanted to deliver an industry-leading digital experience. To achieve this, we started defining where we need to focus, which will lead us to our mission. The first and always on the top was customer journey. We wanted to deliver digital experience to our customers. We wanted to look back into the processes which were more aligned towards applications running on VMs with dedicated IPs to applications running on containers. We wanted to focus on security and productivity. We wanted to increase productivity and faster time to market. We were leaning towards more modern architecture, which brings in excitement in the team, introduce new tools, and change complete developer experience and how we build and how we deliver. We started our journey with building our foundation and setting up a VMware PaaS platform. We had a small team along with the VMware experts setting up our first on-prem foundation. We called it as Platform Dojo. On the other hand, we had our talented engineering team working on application transformation. We picked up a very first application and completely refactored to a Spring Boot application and modernized it to be aligned with 12-factor cloud-native principles. IT and business started with a great collaboration. While we started reviewing business and architectural rules. We started assessing each application on our roadmap and prioritize it. We then went in an inception phase where tireless days were spent by our engineering and business teams to deep dive into each feature and then seeing them turn into completely decomposed microservices. We call this as a Boris exercise, and it helps us give a very broader view of our microservices architecture. We started building our PaaS platform on our on-prem infrastructure. We collaborated with security and established firewall rules. Before it would be ready for our engineering team, we put CI/CD pipelines and added custom plugins, which gives whole new developer experience. With this, we had a foundation ready, and engineering teams had simple steps to onboard applications and focus on build and deliver applications. We wanted to establish separate foundations so we have different stages of validation and lower our risk of finding issues later. We set up 4 segregated foundations. We have foundation to test our patching and to know how high-level impact on our application. We call our foundation as an engineering foundation. We use it for our research and POCs, so our developers can experiment with applications and implement some creative ideas. We have CI/CD pipelines to manage our platform activities and the patching cycle. Platform engineering and support team collaborated so we build transparency and collect feedback, which helps continuously improving. Consumption reports are shared periodically, which shows how our growing consumption of the platform is. We were on our journey to Venice, and we were on our mission to deliver digital experience to our customers. We started unfolding our business rules, which were embedded from 20 years in our few of our legacy systems with various technical stacks. Our applications were closely tied up with data, and we started pulling each data rule so we can be in a perfect world of microservices. That was a time for us to be truly agile and think on what would help us that will lead us to deliver digital experience sooner to our customers and our applications become cloud agnostic. We were soon on path to Amsterdam. It was a path to lead us to modern architecture and introducing new tools and technology, which helps improve our overall architecture and technical stack. We set up standard guardrails and moved our session state to VMware Tanzu Gemfire. Moving our session state to Tanzu Gemfire helped us scale our applications on demand. We were on a path to faster deployment, and our developers can focus more on building and delivering features. DevSecOps was a critical component. We created multi-branch pipelines. We created custom CI/CD plugins. We created a simple and easily adaptable interface, which can be used by our developers. All dependencies was in a single application repository. We built in quality gates and built in security and enabled automatic deployments with zero downtime. We have few watchouts to share during our transformation. To avoid risk and stability of our applications, it takes time to learn the right resources your application needs to meet growing demand. And we end up in over-provisioning of resources. Our team does a great job of periodically sharing reports, which helps managing it. In my previous slide, I mentioned on build and deliver. It was so easier for our engineers to build and deploy that you will see growing number of microservices and viewing our integrations in a broader environment helps looking at a broader picture. Uniformity and freedom. We want to give enough freedom to our engineers to be creative, but define standard templates. We have to really balance these two. Automation. Automation does not come out of the box. We need a lot of customization, and we need to factor in that time. Underestimation. We often see this in modernization journeys, and there is a huge difference when we are deployment ready versus production ready. Do consider time and what it takes to develop, to be development ready, and to take it to production. It's a journey. We will continue to iterate and innovate, and we will come back to share more experiences. See you again, and we will see you in the Zoom sessions to answer any questions. Thank you.
Wow, that's great work, Ruchi and Mike. Thank you for sharing. I especially loved hearing the Voltaire quote, "Don't let perfect be the enemy of good." Those are sage words for all of us, regardless of our roles. Be sure and catch Voya Financial's keynote tomorrow morning on the main stage as well. We'll see Mike and Ruchi again. But for now, you can head over to the Slack channel for this session for a live Q&A with Mike and Ruchi, and you can keep this conversation going. And now we've got a short break until our next presentation.